sing short. Shri Shri Guru Gauranga Gandharvika Giridhari Radha Govinda Ji Ki Jai. Shri Shri Radha Gopinath Radha Madan Mohan Ji Ki Jai. Radha Vinod Bihari Ji Ki Jai. Jai Shri Shri Nitai Gauranga Ki Jai. Jai Shri Giriraj Govardhan Ki Jai. Shri Jagannath Baladev Subhadra Sudarshan Chakra Ji Ki Jai. Jai Bhakti Vigravinasham Shri Shringadev Bhakti Prabhupada Shri Prahlad Maharaj Ki Jai. Shri Shri Radha Damodar Ji Ki Jai. Jai Shri Prabhupada Ki Jai. Shri Gurudev Ki Jai. Shri Rupanuga Guru Varga Ki Jai. Anantakoti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai. Samagata Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Nitai Gaura Prananandi Hari Hari. Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Jataha Padakamanam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sadrajatam Sahagana Raghunathan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhan Vidamscha Om Agyana Timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Mukam karoti vachalam bhangam langayate girim yat kripa tamaham vande Shri Gurun dinatara vancha kalpatarubhascha kripa sindubhyeva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha namo mahabhadanaya Krishna prema pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gaura Trishe Nama He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatapate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Jayatam Surutopam Gaura Mamamandamater Gati Matsarvasva Padam Bojo Radha Madana Mohano Divya Vrindaranya Kalpa Drumadha Shrimad Ratnagar Singhasanasto Shrimad Radha Srila Govinda Devo Prishtalipi Sevyamano Smarami Shiman Rasarasarambi Vam Shivata Tatakstitaha Karsanaveno Svanayar Gopir Gopinata Shri Stunaha Vrindai Tulsidebai Priyai Keshavasyacha Krishna Bhakti Prade Devi Satyavachai Namo Namaha Panchatattvaatmakam Krishnam Bhakta Rupa Swarupakam Bhakta Avataram Bhaktakyam Namami Bhakta Shaktikam Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivas Adi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. First of all, I'm offering my unlimited Dandavat Pranams and my Shraddha Pushpanjali at the lotus feet of my most worshipable beloved Gurudev Nityalila Pravishta Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Ashtatarasata Sri Srila A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada. And Nityalila Pravishtom Vishnupad Paramahansas Tatarasata Sri Srila Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Goswami Maharaj. And Nityalila Pravishtom Vishnupad Paramahansas Tatarasata Sri Srila Bhakti Vedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj. My Dandavat pranams to the lotus feet of all my Sri Sri Rupanuga Guru Varga. My Dandavat pranams to all the Vaishnavas and all the Vaishnavis. Can you tell them? No conversation at this time. You can. So, during this Kartik now, we are continuing with our reading of Sri Braj Mandala Parikrama book of our beloved Srila Gurudev, Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj. And it's so sweet. We've been doing the Govardhan Parikrama. Yeah, and tomorrow is the Govardhan Anukut Mahamahotsav festival. So, we'll probably finish this because now we're up to, we just read the other day the Dangati Lila, where Krishna obstructs the pathway, the narrow pathway to cross over Giriraj Govardhan. And he wants that the gopis should pay him tax. And of course, there's actually two different books that are written, one by Rupa Goswami, one by Srila Raghunath Das Goswami, on this amazing lila where for a long, long time they're having a prem kalaha, you know, and there's so much laughing and so much joking, but it's just delightful. So those two books are called Dan Keli Komedi and Dan Keli Chintamani. Chintamani by Raghunath Das Goswami. Gurudev mentions that. He says, to find out more about this pastime, you can read this. Now, as we go from Dangati, very nearby, maybe a couple of 100 yards down the road, and we know that on the left side, on the right side is Giriraj Govardhan, of course, and on the left side is that one palace that was acquired by ISKCON under Gurudev's auspices, and it became their center at Govardhan. Just a little past there is what is the place called Dan Nivartan Kunda. And so Nivartan means reclaiming. So Dan Nivartan means reclaiming their toll tax from Krishna. And that's the story. He doesn't actually say anything here extensively. It's probably mentioned in another place in the book, but Gurudev doesn't say much about the pastime, but we know there's a similar pastime in Varshana. You know, there's another similar place which is called Shankari Kor. And it's a very narrow place between two hills. And really only one person can pass through there at a time. And that also was a place where Krishna would exact taxes. But then the gopis also got revenge. And so in this case, at Danivartan Kunda, then they hid, the gopis hid. Thousands and thousands of gopis were hidden in the forest there, a very thick forest at that time. And then when Krishna came with a few of his cowherd boys, they suddenly came out and they just grabbed Krishna. They grabbed Madhu Mangal and some of the other sakhas, tied their sikas to the trees and slapped their cheeks. And what did they do with Krishna? They dressed Krishna in a gopi outfit. And they put pots on his head. And then Lalita Devi, she threw very accurately a stone, and then the pots broke and Krishna was bathed with yogurt. So that place is called Danivartan Kunda. Now we come to the village of Parasoli. The Parasoli Village lies about 1¼ miles southeast of Govardhan town. Southeast, yes. And it lies in the lowlands of Govardhan. Now, during the Mughal reign, the Muslims changed the name of the village to Muhammadpur. At least they should be more original. Anyway, this is the place, that Parasoli village is the place of the spring Ras Leela of Krishna and his beloved gopis. So that whole spring Ras Leela is narrated by who? In which book? Jayadev Goswami in Gita Govinda. Yes. So that whole spring Vasanti Ras Leela, the whole thing is there in that book. This Ras continued for an entire night of Brahma. But it seemed to be over in a few short moments. The moon in the sky had become stunned upon seeing this Ras Leela, and it remained in the one place for the duration of the entire night. Didn't move. Yes, because this Ras Leela took place in the light of a brilliant full moon, this place is also called Chandra Sarovara, the lake of the moon. We went there with Srila Gurudev to that place. In the southwestern corner of the Sarovara is the Sringar temple, where Krishna personally decorated Srimati Ji. So there's one there, and there's also one in Vrindavan, just along the banks of the Yamuna there. Now near the Sarovara, under a Chomkar tree, is the sitting place of Sri Vallabha Acharya. This is a very prominent place of his. The Kuti and the Samadhi of Surdas, known simply as Sur Kuti and Sur Samadhi, are also in this area. Now I remember when we were new devotees, we had a few of these, prints from India.
He's blind, of course.
Yes, and he's sitting and singing with the stringed instruments, and little Krishna is sitting in front of him and listening. Yes. So, and his samadhi is also there. Now, Surdas was a natural poet. His collection of poems is famous as Sur Sagara or Sur Padavali. Although he was blind, he would compose poems that beautifully describe the different outfits and decorations of Srinath Ji. You know who Srinath Ji is?
It's the one in, yes, there's a temple right on the border of Rajasthan.
Yes, Nathadwar. He's been moved there, but where was he originally from?
Wasn't he right there at Govardhan?
He's the deity that was unearthed by Srimad Abhendra Puripad. Yes. So, so even though he was blind, he would beautifully describe with these poems that he would spontaneously compose all the different outfits and the decorations of Srinath Ji. And one day the priest did not dress Srinath Ji and left him completely naked. He opened the doors of the altar and asked Surdas to describe Srinath Ji's decorations. Then Surdas remained silent for a few moments. But the priest insisted. Then Surdas laughed loudly and proceeded to sing, Aj Bai Hari Nangam Nanga. Today Hari is undressed and naked. And then all present were stunned to hear this. Surdas spent his last days in Parasoli. One day, Sri Vittala Acharya, who is the son of who? Vallabhacharya. He became very famous. He used so much Gaudiya, Vittala Acharya, the son of Vallabhacharya. He asked to Surdas, Sura, what are you thinking about? And then Surdas composed his final song. Kanjane Rup Ras Mate Atishai Charu Chapal Aniyare Pal Pinjarana Samate. Is what he described. That Krishna's beautiful eyes are like Kanjana birds. They are full of ras. They are very restless and slightly reddened due to intoxication. Then, he said, my life can no longer remain encaged in this body. Saying this, he left his body. And then with tear-filled eyes, Sri Vittala Acharya said, the boat of Pushti Marg has departed today. So there's, at the end of this whole thing, there's a footnote. Now in the southeastern part of Parasoli is Sankarshan Kund, on whose bank is a temple of Sri Baladev. Now we move on to the village near to there, right near to there, called Paita or Pata. Gurudev pronounced it Patagram. So, any guess at that? What is Paita? What happened there? Well, you'll soon remember. So the village of Paita is situated 2 miles south of Parasoli. This place has special significance for the Gaudiya Vaishnavas. When Sri Krishna disappeared from the springtime Ras, the grief-stricken gopis began searching for him everywhere. Krishna assumed a 4-armed form at this place. We ran right there to that place with Gurudev. We ran into Gurudev, somehow we came in a taxi. We ran into Gurudev at this place, or we were following him, I don't quite remember. But there wasn't like a big, huge, group.
I feel like I remember that. It's a small temple,
You also,
right?
yeah, there's a small
temple, and then Gurudev, like,
and there's a tree.
unexpectedly- yeah,
There's a tree
Gurudev
there.
came,
He's going to explain that.
unexpectedly, and we were just like, oh my gosh, Gurudev is here.
Yes, yeah. So, when the gopis saw this 4-armed form of Krishna, they simply offered obeisances and continued on their way. Srimati Ji, restless in separation from Krishna, finally arrived there. When Sri Krishna saw Srimati Ji, he was unable to maintain his 4-armed form, and 2 arms entered his body. And the word, I guess it's in Hindi, is Paita Gai, that went inside his body. So he then met with Srimati Ji in his form as an ever-fresh, youthful cowherd boy, an expert dancer holding a flute in his hand. Sri Krishna begged forgiveness from her and said, "O beloved, when I suddenly did not see you in the Ras, I became aggrieved in separation from you, and I began searching for you. I am only performing this Ras for you. You should never go into jealous anger, man, and leave me ever again." Krishna told. Thus, the springtime Ras is unique in that it establishes Srimati Radhika's superiority over the other gopis. The poet Sri Jayadev Goswami has described this springtime Ras in his Gita Govinda. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu cites this spring Ras alone as the proof of Srimati Radhika's preeminence. This is the Praman of the Gaudiya Vaishnavas. There is no one that can compare with Srimati Radhika. So this subject has been described very sweetly in Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, in the conversation between Sri Ramananda Roy and Sriman Mahaprabhu. Krishna has many beloveds, but Srimati Radhika is the crown jewel of them all, because she is the embodiment of Mahabhav. and the possessor of all good qualities. And this is why Sri Krishna was able to maintain his four-armed form before the other Sakis, but could not maintain his mood upon seeing Srimati Ji and his two extra arms entered into his body. This is the special glory of Srimati Radhika. Among the places of darshan in Paita are Narayan Sarovara, Aimta Kadamba, Kir Sagra, and Balabhadra Kunda. But I remember, it doesn't say here, but there is a tree that is all twisted. Gurudev came right up to the tree and said, this is a very special tree. It's like all twisted. Maybe there's even two different colors, you know. So right near to that Paitagam. Now the next place, which is 3 miles south of Paita, and is also called Vatsavan. Vatsa means what? Vatsa means calves. So the name of the village is Bacha, Bachagaon, because also calves are called Bacha. And also the Brijbasis, they call their little toddler kids Bacha. Yeah. So that place, Sri Krishna and the Sakas sometimes herded the calves here. Kanaka Sagara, Sahasra Kunda, Ramakunda, Advara Kunda, Ravari Kunda, and the temples of Makanchor Thakur and Vatsa Bihari Thakur are also here. What happened here? What Leela of Krishna happened here?
And Makanchor is in butter.
No.
Did you say Vatsavan?
Vatsavan.
Is it the killing of Vatsas? Did I just make up a demon?
Well, here is where Lord Brahma stole the cowherd boys and calves in order to further behold Sri Krishna's sweet pastimes. So Sri Krishna himself took the forms of all the cowherd boys, as well as the forms of their sticks, flutes, horns, calves, and so forth. And for 1 year, he went cow grazing. And he performed the pastimes they had all previously enjoyed. Then 1 or 2 days before a full year had elapsed, Sri Krishna, Balaram, and the cowherd boys were grazing the calves here. The adult Gopas were grazing the cows nearby on Govardhan Hill, and their newborn calves were with them. So when the cows saw their older offspring, which were now 1 year old, with Krishna and Balaram, they ran towards them, bellowing loudly without caring for the thorns, sharp grass, and ditches on the way. And the adult Gopas, they tried their level best to obstruct them by using their sticks, but to no avail. The cows did not even care for their newborn calves. When they met their older calves at this place, they began to lick them lovingly. The older Gopas became angry that they could not restrain the cows, and they thought that their children had sounded their flutes and horns to attract them. So intent on punishing their children, they went there quickly. But as soon as they arrived, their anger completely vanished, and they embraced their children instead. So Shri Baladev, he was amazed to see this. And he wondered, because he wasn't there on that day. That was like, yeah, he had some birthday or something. So Baladev was amazed to see this, and he wondered, why did the cows leave their younger calves today and show more affection to their older ones? They used to love their younger calves the most, and they had even more love for my brother Krishna. And the mothers of the cowherd boys used to love Krishna more than their own sons, but now they love them both equally. Now, Baladev sought the answer to this riddle through his transcendental vision. Smiling, he then turned to Krishna and he said, "Brother, was the milk of one mother not enough to fill your belly? Did you have to become the children of hundreds and thousands of mothers so that you could drink their milk too? But even this did not satisfy you, so you assumed the form of all the calves and drank the milk of millions of cows. What is the secret behind this pastime of yours? Then Krishna revealed the entire mystery to Baladev. So thus, because this forest is where Krishna revealed himself to be all the calves, the Hindi word for calf is bachara. It is called bachavan. Yeah, so that's such a wonderful pastime. And I remember when I first became a devotee and we had the Krishna book, and I'm hearing these pastimes for the first time. And I thought to myself, wow, it's amazing. Even though the forms that Krishna was assuming were not his form. They were the forms of his cowherd boys and even the sticks and everything else. He assumed the form of all the paraphernalia, the calves and everything, right? But yet, because he's Krishna, because they are all Krishna, everyone was irresistibly drawn and attracted toward him with such intense love and affection, just like they have for Krishna. So that was a very amazing thing for me to understand about this tattva of Bhagavat tattva. That even if he looks exactly like their son for the cowherd ladies, but they don't become that much intensely drawn towards them and milk flowing from their breasts and everything. But when they see Krishna, exactly every single detail, their voice, everything, like the sun. But then that effect comes. So this proves that Krishna is the emporium of all rasa. Right? He is the Rasika Shekhar and also Raso Vaisaha. He's made of rasa. He is the center of all existence, and every living entity, ultimately, it will be attracted to him. Yeah.
The gopis, they also...
Mike?
The gopis of Braj also got married that year to the cowherd boys that were Krishna. So they must have been very happy to be married at that time. Now, when all of them were replaced, I wonder if the mood changed, when they returned from the cave.
Well, one thing we do know is that Yogamaya really is arranging. And it's just like Abhimanyu is actually like the shadow of Krishna. He's the so-called husband. And he never touches Srimati Radhika. So in the same way, these young girls were betrothed, and but they were not living with their husbands until they got older. Right? But even then, it's the same thing. That they're the so-called husbands, which are created, by Yogamaya, but they're actually extensions of Krishna, like a shadow, So no, it doesn't describe that they became drawn towards their husbands. Quite the opposite. So now from that place, Bachavan, now we're coming to Anyor Gaon. Guess what took place at Anyor Gaon? Anore, Anayor. So Anyor village lies on the Parikrama path 2 miles south of the town of Govardhan. The village of Jatipur or Gopalpur lies to the west of Aniyor, on the other side of Govardhan Hill. So you know that? Like when we go, like we're going down the big side, and we come back up to where the town is, and then some distance down from there. Yeah, that's where Anayor is, on the way to Radhakund from the Govardhan town. So Srimad Bhagavatam describes how, on the advice of Krishna, Nanda Baba and the other Brajavasis began worshipping Giriraj instead of Indra. It also describes how they performed the Annakut festival for Giriraj here. They cooked many delicacies in their homes. They filled hundreds of carts with milk, yogurt, rabri, and other kinds of preparations and presented them before Giriraj. I guess that's already starting now. All the new Brajavasis are beginning the cooking process, right? And they're going to cook through the night, and then they're going to assemble tomorrow at Giriraj Govardhan. Yes, so Sri Krishna himself offered everything to Giriraj, and at the same time he assumed a huge four-armed form with which he devoured all the offerings by extending his long arms. And see who's going to play that role tomorrow, huh? We'll leave that a mystery. Then, begging for more to eat, he called out in great happiness, "Anore! Anore! Bring more! Bring more!" Then Krishna folded his hands and he said, "We are poor Brajavasis. Whatever we have presented before you. So please be satisfied with this." And in his four-armed form, Giriraj drank the water of Manasi Ganga, Kusam Sarovara, and other ponds, and he exclaimed, what? What did he say after he drank the water?
I am satisfied.
Yes. Triptos me, triptos me. I am satisfied, I am satisfied. Doesn't say here, but he belched. And then he wiped his hands and his mouth with his cloth. He told the Brajavasis to ask for a boon, and they simply requested this: may this Lala of ours, this darling Krishna, always remain happy and live long. And when that four-armed form disappeared, then Krishna asked the Brajavasis, "So, did you ever receive darshan of Indradev, huh? Giriraj is very, very kind. He fulfills everyone's desires." And after worshipping Govardhan, the Brajavasis considered their lives fully blessed. This place has been named Anyor Gram because it is here that Giriraj called out, "Anore, Anore." The natural impressions of the Brajavasis' bowls in the rocks of Giriraj can be found where the Annakut was performed. And nearby is a Bhajani Shila, a stone which emits a sweet sound when tapped with a piece of rock. Yes, Bhajani Shila, a stone which emits a sweet sound when tapped with a piece of rock or with a stick or a finger. We already found another place along the way of Govardhan where they have Bhajani Shila. Now we come to the place of Srinathji's appearance. Very important place for the Gaudiya Vaishnavas. When Mahaprabhu, after taking sannyas and was on his way down to Jagannath Puri, and Lord Nityananda was with him, then that whole pastime was related in Remuna, which is the place of Kir Chor Gopinath. Now, this place is situated near the Bhajani Shila. Once in his wanderings, Sri Madhavendra Puri came to Braj. He is Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's grand spiritual master and Sri Ishwara Puri's spiritual master. Imagine how exalted such personalities to be the spiritual master of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and the grand spiritual master. Amazing. So, Vraja Prem is difficult to obtain, even for Brahma and the other demigods. But it has been distributed freely in the world by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Madhavendra Puripad is the seed or the sprout of that Prem Kalpataru, a desire tree that bestows divine transcendental love. He was a renunciant who followed Ayachaka Vritti. Now this means he never begged food from anyone. Ayachaka Vritti. So one day he was performing bhajan near Govinda Kunda in a secluded place surrounded by lush green trees and creepers. For 2 or 3 days he was so absorbed in his bhajan that he was even unconscious of his own body. And on the 3rd day, at midday, a cowherd boy whose complexion was darkish blue, Shyam, he arrived there, carrying a pot of milk in his hand. Then the boy said, "Baba, nobody remains hungry in Braj. My mother saw you as she passed by, carrying water from the well. She understood that you are hungry and thirsty, so she has sent this milk for you. And I am going now to herd the cows, so when I return I will collect the pot." Saying this, the boy quickly left. Puriji pondered the sweet talk, pleasant behavior, and beauty of that boy. In my whole life, I have never seen such a beautiful boy, he thought. He completed his bhajan, offered the milk to his worshipful deity, and then drank it. The unequal taste and fragrance of the milk made Puriji ecstatic. He became overwhelmed with love of God. But he could apply no concentration to his bhajan. With tear-filled eyes, he began waiting for that Shyam-complexioned boy to return. Night fell, but the boy did not come. But during early hours of the morning, he dozed off a little, and he saw that boy return. Then that boy said, "I am Gopal, the son of Rajaraj Nanda." And then he said, "My other name is Srinath Ji. Maharaj Vajranabha installed me here on the top of Giriraj. Long ago, in fear of the barbarians, the priests taking care of me hid me under the earth in a nearby valley of Govardhan. And I have been thirsty and hungry for many days, and I am feeling so hot. I have been waiting for you for a long time, thinking, when will Madhavendra take me from here and serve me?" Then saying this, the boy indicated his hiding place, and he disappeared. In the morning, when Puriji narrated this incident to the villagers, they dug at the place specified in the dream, and they found Gopalji. This made Puri Goswami and the Vrajavasis jubilant. An altar was built on top of the hill by erecting 3 vertical stones in 3 directions and placing a horizontal slab across them. Gopalji was seated on that throne, and for many days he received a splendid bathing ceremony with abundant milk, yogurt, clarified butter, sugar, and honey. Then the Brajvasis also offered anakut, which means an offering of the mounds of grains like dal and rice and kadhi and puri, kachori, and many other delicious preparations. They never make kadhi here.
Not so much.
Never.
Start.
I have not had kadhi one time in the last year and a half.
Well,
I forget what is curry. I know I have. I have
maybe
so
we
many
need to make
years.
some on Saturday.
Oh. So kadhi is made from urd dal, isn't it? Or no?
No, it's
No.
made from yogurt. Yogurt and chickpea flour.
Yogurt and chickpea flour. Oh, and then it's fried.
You fry dumplings in it, but the curry
Dumplings
itself
of
is
that.
just
The yogurt and the
it's
chickpea
a
flour.
chickpea flour dumpling, I think.
You know how to do it? Yogurt and chick, is that correct?
Like you make the pakora, it's just the batter, and then you make a sauce, which is the chickpea
Yogurt.
chickpea flour with the yogurt, and then you add water because it thickens up really well.
So first you do it with water in the beginning.
You
No,
roast,
The chickpea
you
flour?
roast some
It's
chickpea
with
slices.
yogurt, water, and chickpea flour. It's the base,
Okay.
like the soupy part. But you make pakoras that go in afterwards, like
That go in what?
Go in the-
Well, yeah. Because, well, the yogurt is separate. Some yogurt you're adding into the batter, right?
and
No.
some
And
you
then
put
the
it
other
into-
is what it's soaking in.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right. So like during Kartik, they have that at least
Two.
on 3 different occasions. Yeah. And I always remember being in certain places there in Braj, and because I think it was more simple for them than making separately rice and dal. Well, they still make rice. Yeah. But they don't make chapatis at that time. And then they bring it out on the tractors
Yeah.
to the places where we're sitting in the fields, and they serve it all out there. So many happy times. Okay, so they made all these mounds of grains like dal, rice, kadhi, puri, kachori, many other delicious preparations. The neighboring people, especially the wealthy merchants of Mathura, they participated in the festival by body, mind, and wealth. Yes. So after serving Gopalji like this for some time, Madhavendra Puri, on the order of Srinathji, turned over the responsibility of the worship to his disciples, and he went to Jagannath Puri to procure Malayana Chandan, or the sandalwood from the Malaya hills, for him. So this village is currently named Jatipur. You know why? Jatipur. Because actually Ja is Ya. Yati. Yati means sannyasi. So it's named after Madhavendra Puri as a yati, as a sannyasi. Yes, so this village is currently named Jatipur after him, as the word Jati or Yati means renunciant. So this incident has been described vividly in Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. Nowadays, Srinathji presides in Sri Nathadwar in Rajasthan. One day, before I leave this body, I'm definitely going there. I've heard that it's such a nice place to visit, and there's no restrictions on Westerners or anything like that, and you can just relish the transcendental form of Srinathji. So, due to the atrocities of the fanatic Mughal ruler Aurangzeb, the king of Jaipur brought the deities of Vrindavan, such as Sri Govinda, Sri Gopinath, and Sri Madan Mohan, to his kingdom in Rajasthan. Now, a little further east of Anayor Gram is Gauri Kunda. This attractive place is full of kadamba trees amidst luxuriant green bowers. It is where the secret pastimes of Chandravali and Krishna took place. The play Vidagdamadava gives a very sweet and beautiful description of this. So Chandravali is the daughter of Chandrabhanu Gopa, the elder brother of Vrishabhanu Maharaj. So in regard to her beauty, qualities, charm, cleverness, and so forth, she is the topmost gopi of the party that is opposed to Srimati Radhika. Padma and Shaibya are her principal Sakhis. On the pretext of worshipping goddess Gauri with her Sakhis, Chandravali used to meet Krishna at this appointed place. And Sri Krishna would perform some pastimes with her for a while. Sometimes Rupa and Rati Manjaris of Srimati Radhika's party would use clever tricks to take Sri Krishna from here to meet with Srimati Radhika at Sri Radha Kunda. Once while performing pastimes with Chandravali, Krishna became confused and inadvertently asked her, "Radha, are you all right?" And hearing Radha's name, Chandravali became irritated, and she replied, "Maharaj Kamsa, are you all right?" Then puzzled, Krishna asked, "Saki, where is Kamsa here?" And then Chandravali replied, "Where is your Radha here?" So Krishna understood his mistake and, feeling very ashamed, begged Chandravali's forgiveness. So this is only possible by Yoga Maya, right? That Krishna will forget this, or, you know. So human-like pastimes. Now we come to Govinda Kunda, which is the place of what?
Where Krishna forgave, or where Lord Brahma offered his prayers and did Abhishek.
Not Brahma, Indra.
Indra, yes.
Yeah. Yes. When Indra saw that the Brajavasis had stopped worshipping him and they were worshipping Govardhan instead, he became angry. And consequently, with the intention of destroying them, he poured forth torrential rains and he hurled thunderbolts upon them for 7 days. But he was not successful. Finally, Lord Brahma advised him to ask for forgiveness for his offense. And so Indra performed Abhishek of Sri Krishna with the milk of Surabhi Devi at this place. Sri Krishna was named Govinda at that place. That's why it's called Govinda Kunda. That's where he received his name Govinda. Apparently in his worldly pastimes, in this universe, they didn't call him Govinda until this time. Interesting. So Sri Krishna was named Govinda because he nourishes and he gives pleasure to all. The cows, the gopas, the gopis, and the land of Braj. Because go means cows, it means gopas, gopis, it means land. So this place is known as Govinda Kunda because the name-giving ceremony and the Abhishek of Sri Govinda were performed here. And Sri Vajranabha established this kunda in memory of this pastime. Now we come to the farthest southern place. When you're going, and then you have to go around the southern tip of Govardhan. That place is named Puchari. Puchari marks the southern border of Govardhan. We have previously said that Govardhan's form resembles a cow, but it can also be likened to a peacock. So this part, Punchari, is raised high like the peacock's tail, Puncha. So Parikrama of Govardhan's eastern side is completed here, and from here Parikrama of the western side begins, and then there's also Apsara Kunda and Navala Kunda are situated there. So now, what is this Apsara Kunda and Navala Kunda? There are two actual kundas side by side. They lie near each other. So Srimati Radhika is likened to the most beautiful Apsara. Apsara means a damsel from the heavenly planets. Apsara Kunda received its name after her, and the eternally youthful Haribol, not so much talking back there. Haribol. So Apsara Kunda received its name after her. It still comes from this side though. Received its name after her. And the eternally youthful Navala, Nandanandana, he's Navala, which Sri Krishna is present here as Navala Kunda. Navala means eternally youthful. So nearby is a place of Ras. That's the place where there's also called Kadamba Kandi there, where there's so many Kadamba trees, even today, but at that time, huge forest of Kadamba trees. Nearby is a place of Ras. Previously, this was a delightful and enchanting grove of thousands of Kadamba and Tamal trees. Today, hardly any of these trees remain. The divine couple, Sri Radha Krishna, melted in prem while performing the Rasa dance here. Apsara Kunda and Navala Kunda are their melted forms. Imagine that. Fortunate sadhakas obtain darshan of these ponds. Now there's a little place right nearby, Raghava Pandit's cave. The great devotee, Raghava Pandit. And adjacent to this place of Ras is a cave, in a secluded place where an associate of Srimad Mahaprabhu, the Gaudiya Vaishnava Srila Raghava Pandit, used to perform his bhajan. He was a highly realized soul and Rasik Vaishnava. It is mentioned in Bhakti Ratnakara that Srila Jiva Goswami arranged for Srinivasacharya and Srila Narottam Thakur to perform parikrama of Braj Mandala with Raghava Pandit. Near this cave, on top of Govardhan Hill, is an imprint of Sri Krishna's crown. Next place, Shyama Daka. This pastime place of Sri Krishna is situated 1 mile west of Pucheri, and it is filled with lush green palasha trees. Next to it is a very large grove of kadamba trees with leaves like cups. Sri Krishna used to drink buttermilk from these leaf cups along with his friends. This is also a place of ras. Yeah, and near in that area, I think, is they make an arrangement that the village people are supplying the rotis and the buttermilk and gur, right? Now come to Surabhi Kunda. Surabhi Kunda, very important place. There's another Surabhi Kunda in Navadvip because the same Surabhi Devi flew to Navadvip after Krishna's pastimes were finished. And she came into Navadvip on the island of what? Godrama, yes. So Surabhi Kunda is where Bhaktivinoda Thakur stayed personally in Navadvip Dham. Surabhi Kunda, and this is also a very special place because Gurudev helped to renovate the pond there. And there was one doctor who used to pay for the feeding, all of the whole parikrama party there. And they used to have like a program, and Gurudev would meet us there. He generally wouldn't come most of the years on any of the other places on the parikrama of Govardhan, but he would come in separately in a car and meet us there. So, Surabhi Kund is filled with clean, sweet water. It lies on the right-hand side of the parikrama path, somewhat further along than Raghava Pandit's cave. Now, on Indra's request, Surabhi bathed Sri Govinda at Govinda Kunda with the milk from her udder. Later, out of a strong desire to have darshan of Sri Krishna's cowherding pastimes, and especially of the divine couple, Sri Radha Krishna's confidential pastimes in the Nikunjas, Surabhi dwelt here for the duration of Sri Krishna's manifest pastimes in Braj. And Maharaj Vajranabha established this Surabhi Kunda in her memory. By bathing and performing achaman here, all one's sins, offenses, and unwanted desires, anarthas, are dispelled, and one obtains Raja Prem. So that's a very important place. Yes. Now we come to Airavata Kunda. On the order of Indra, his elephant carrier Airavata used his trunk to bathe Sri Krishna with the water of the heavenly Ganga. And near the Kunda, on top of the hill, are the impressions of Airavata's feet. Rudra Kunda is situated northwest of Airavata Kunda, and it is also called the Rudana Kunda. Here, Mahadev Shivji became so absorbed in meditation on Sri Krishna's pastimes that he began to weep. The word for weep is Rudana Karna. So it's also called Rudana Kunda there, at Rudra Kunda. So nearby is the place where Krishna used to play ball. In this area, one can also take darshan of Srimati Radhika's sitting place, Jana Ajana trees, and a Pujani Shila. A third name of the Kunda is Haraji Kunda. Now, Jatipur is where Sri Madhavendra Puri lived and performed bhajan, when the deity of Srinathji manifested himself, and he was placed on top of Govardhan Hill. So Madhavendra Puri performed the Abhishek and Anakut festival of Srinathji here. After entrusting the worship and the service of Srinathji to his disciples, Madhavendra Puri then went to Puri Dham on the order of Srinathji to bring sandalwood and camphor. And when he arrived at Remuna, the deity of Gopinathji stole a pot of sweet rice for him to taste. For this reason, Gopinath is called Kir Chor Gopinath, the thief, the chor of the sweet rice, the kir. So when Madhavendra Puri was returning from Jagannath Puri with sandalwood and camphor, he received an order from Srinathji of Govardhan in a dream. And Srinathji told him that by grinding the sandalwood and the camphor and smearing it on the body of Kir Chor Gopinath every day for 1 month, his own body would become cool. So it is not known whether Madhavendra Puri returned to Govardhan or not. His samadhi lies in Remuna, near the temple of Kir Chora Gopinath. That's another thing to see there. I haven't been there. That's another place I have to go. Before this body. Yeah. Yeah, we're going to start. Just finishing this short section here. The 6 Goswamis, especially Sri Rupa Sanatan and Raghunath Das Goswamis, had very good relations with Sri Vitala Acharya, the son of Sri Ballabha Acharya. Sri Vitala Acharya had an affectionate and friendly relationship with Sri Raghunath Das Goswami, who Sri Rupa and Sanatan Goswamis regarded as a younger brother. They therefore regarded Sri Vitala Acharya as a younger brother and loved him dearly. So the 6 Goswamis, who are the topmost Niskinchanas, they remained absorbed in Bhav Seva meditation on the daily 8-fold pastimes, Ashtakal Leela, of Sri Radha Krishna Jugal by means of Harinam Sankirtan. And therefore they entrusted the responsibility of Srinathji's worship to the sons of Sri Vallabhacharya. Our Goswamis considered Sri Giriraj Govardhan to be Sri Krishna himself. And they never used to climb on him to take darshan of Srinathji. Whenever the Goswamis had a fervent desire to see him, Srinathji would himself descend on some pretext or other to bestow his darshan, sometimes coming to Gantoligram, sometimes to Shatagara in Mathura. This is mentioned in Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita and Bhakti Ratnakara. Srimad Mahaprabhu did not climb upon Govardhan either, and had darshan of Srinathji in Gantoligram. So we'll finish there. We will complete this in this weekend because this is the Govardhan Parikrama, and we're doing Govardhan Anakut, so we have to complete this. And so now, very soon after this, is going on the short side. But we don't have to come back because we started from Radhakund, so it's just that area there. There's not too much more Uddhava Kunda than Radhakunda like that. Okay, Shri Giriraj Govardhana Ki Jai, Shri Govardhana Anakut Maha Mahotsav Titi Ki Jai, Jai Shri Braj Mandala Parikrama Ki Jai, Parikrama Kori Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai, Nitai Gaur Premanandi, Vancha Kalpatarubhascha, Kripa Sindhu Bhinacha, Patitanam Pavanebhyo, Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Can someone give me a songbook? Sure. We'll do the Ashtakams. Remember the page number? Anyone?
289.
289. Yeah. Sucharu Bhaktra Mandalam Sukarna Ratna Kundalam Sucharchitanga Chandrana Namami Nandanandana Sudirga Netra Pankajam Shiki Shikanda Mudrajam Ananga Koti Mohanam Namami Nandanandana Nasikadra Moktikam Swachanda Danta Pantikam Navamudam Gachitkanam Namami Nandanandana Kalena Venuranjitam Gati Garindra Ganjitam Tukula Pita Shovanam Namami Nandanandana Trivanga Deha Sundaram Nakadyuti Sundaram Nandanandanashtakam Kadenyasarayandita Kare Bhavatam Pushtaram Navetaram Vijumukham Namami Nandanandanam Namami Nandanandanam Mudindra Vrindavandite Triloka Shoka Harini Vasana Bhakta Pankaje Kunja Govidasani Rajendra Bhanu Nandini Rajendra Suna Sangate Karishya Hamam Kripa Katakshavajana Shoka Vishavallari Vitana Manda Pastike Kavala Vala Pallava Pravarunami Komale Parabhaya Spuratkae Prabhuta Sampatalaye Karishya Hamam Kripa Katakshavajana Anangaranga Mangala Prasanga Bandura Bruma Savigramam Sasamgamam Krigantamana Patayi Nirantaram Ashikrita Pratiti Nandanandane Kadakarishya Sriyama Kripa Katakshavajana Champaka Pradita Gaura Vigrahe Mukha Prabha Parashta Koti Sharadem Mandale Chitra Chitra Sancharashtra Kora Shavalochane Kadakarishya Srihamam Kripa Katakshavajana Madon Madati Yovane Pramodanana Mandite Priyanuragaranjite Kalavilasa Pandite Ananya Danya Punjaraja Kamakeli Kovide Kadakarishya Sriyama Kripa Katakshavajana Ashesha Hava Bhavadira Bhushite Prabhuta Shata Kumma Kumma Tumbi Kumma Sushtani Shashta Manda Shachurna Purna Sodha Sagare Katakarishya Sriyama Kripa Katakshavajana Vala Vala Valayi Ranga Ranga Dorlate Katagalasya Rolani Lalochana Alochane Lala Lulani Lamanoya Mugda Mohanashite Katakarishya Sriyama Kripa Katakshavajana Suvarnamali Kanchita Trivekanamukhantage Trishutra Mangali Guna Trihatnadi Triviriti Salolani Rakundala Prasuna Chagumpite Kadakarishya Srihamam Kripa Katakshavajana Nikamba Bimba Lavamana Pushpame Kalagune Prashashta Ratna Kinkini Kalapavadya Manjula Karindra Shundadandika Paroha Sova Goruke Kadakarishya Sriyama Kripa Katakshavajana Aneka Mantra Manjulu Purana Maskara Samaja Raja Hamsa Vangsha Nikvanati Vora Ki Jai, Shri Ramakrishna Jugalarti Ki Jai. It wasn't stopped, right? Yeah, no, it's okay. I'm just going to show. Hari Hari. Jaya Jaya Surasane Aradika Shobha Shiva Jaya Jaya Surasane Aradika Shobha Shiva Jaya Jaya
Jai